healing will have you doing stuff like what I did, buying a Rolls Royce, and buying my wife a Bentley the month after, and buying a Lambo, so there's nothing wrong if you're doing it the right way for the right reasons. I can honestly say I didn't do it for the right reason.
Welcome to Beyond Her Hustle, the podcast where we empower ambitious women to redefine success, find healing, and create a life of abundance beyond the hustle. Join me as we explore topics like financial literacy, healing, well-being, relationships, personal and career development, and holistic success. Get ready to break free from the hustle and step into a world of limitless possibilities. I am your host, Sierra Nicole. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. And today, man, we have a super special guest all the way here from Georgia. You guys don't understand the impact that this man has had on thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs and families building legacies with financial literacy, credit, and all of the above. If there's any episode that you pull out a pen and paper and take some notes, this is the one. I want to introduce you guys to our very, very special guest, Derrick Harper.
What's going on? So I'm just blessed to be here. My name is Derrick Harper, founder of the Credit Repair University, serial entrepreneur, investor, but most of all, man of God, man of family, and here to serve.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you. I know that you're here from out of town. And so just taking out the time to even come and really pour value into our audience, it's much appreciated.
Yeah, I just love to listen to you guys are doing, mainly because I didn't have that, especially without like a serious coaching program, having to pay just to get access to it. And our environment changes us before we can change our environment. So I want to, I'm blessed to be here because of what you guys are doing to create an environment for people who aspire to be entrepreneurs to be able to come and kind of get insight from. So, kudos to you guys. I'm just blessed to be here.
Yeah, our goal is to just give value as entrepreneur. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2018, and I know how difficult it is to find real resources and real information, because anybody these days can get on social media and say that they're an expert, in anything. Right. And so that's why I was like, we have to get you on here, because out of a lot of people that I've connected with online, you're really one of the few people that not only keep their word of what they do, but you really know your stuff, and you're out here doing really amazing things.
I appreciate that. Like I always say too, like you said, it's easy to be an expert, but the same first 5 letters of expert are the same first 5 letters of experience, right? And a lot of people want to call themselves experts without the experience, because, one of the things I saw with you, a lot of people take your courses, they'll take your stuff, and they don't take it to learn it, even though you're giving all the game. They take it to teach it. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, you're a dancing bear at that point, because how in the world are you going to teach some things that you haven't even had experience in and then call yourself the expert? So I just like the way you handle that, but it's good. And the reason why I'm on a mission to do that is because so many people throw money away on things because they follow the shiny object or follow the whatever they're offering, and they don't get anything out of it. And so, by the time they get to me, because I'm not the best marketer, I keep it real instead of marketing. It doesn't sound as sexy. It doesn't sound easy when I tell them, no, you got to go through the process. But I realized that if they didn't have that, then they wouldn't know what to look for. And they'll continue to throw away money and then have these lost hopes of thinking that they can be $1 million entrepreneur in 3 months.
Yep.
So, it's you might not want to hear what I say, but if you follow the blueprint and follow the advice, you'll realize that throughout time, as long as you keep grinding and don't quit, it'll happen. And not from a motivational standpoint, from an actual get out and get it standpoint. Because a lot of people want what it looked like, but they don't want what it felt like to go through it.
Most people want that success aesthetic, but they don't want to actually put the work in. So I want to rewind a little bit, because you mentioned dancing bears. And I know that I've seen it all over, and I know that it's probably pissed some people off. So I want you to talk, what is a dancing bear?
So, when it's tax time, right? And, throughout from April to December, you don't see anything in front of the tax office. But as soon as January comes around and it's tax season, what do you see? A whole dancing bear outside the tax office dancing around saying, come here.
Right.
So that means that it doesn't make money as long as the bear is not dancing. So it's people who don't have experience in anything Like the people who steal from you, they don't have the experience, but they'll buy a course and then they'll come and they'll make an offer. And they're like, hey, I got this. So they really don't have a business outside of offers. They're not building any business. So the business doesn't make money without them dancing, right? And also, so let's say I'm going to take a name, Thomas. I'm going to just throw it out there. So if there's a Thomas out there, I'm not talking about you unless you're really a dancing bear. But let's say Thomas started a trucking company, right? And the first year he made $50K. I mean, that's admirable, right? Because he just started something at least. Second year, he made $90K, right? And then the pandemic hit. And then Thomas said, well, hey, things are slowing down, so I'm going to create a course to teach people how to start a trucking company. So now let's say Thomas makes $1 million selling a course, but he never made it in the trucking industry. Now Thomas rebrands himself as Thomas the Trucking Millionaire, right? So now the people who taking his course automatically assumes that Thomas made millions in the trucking industry because he's a trucking millionaire, right? So Thomas will be a dancing bear because now Thomas is not really telling, he's teaching people how to build $1 million trucking companies, and he never built a $1 million trucking company. He never made over $90K in the trucking industry.
Right.
So that would be a dancing bear too. And so a dancing bear is basically every time you look around, the only time that they're on Instagram is they're dancing and pointing when they're offering something. And when they don't do that, they literally have no business out there making money for them. So that's where the concept came from. And a lot of people over the pandemic, they had $20,000 in PPP. They had $1,000 a week. They had EIDL money, but they also had time. So a lot of them became victims of the dancing bear and spent so much money and spent so much time that they had. And then they left without nothing on the end because the dancing bear wasn't an expert, didn't have the experience. And, he just had marketing and a Lambo that he was dancing in front of, or a Rolls Royce that he was dancing in front of with no value or no substance, and they bought into it.
Why do you think that people fall for that so easily? Especially, I feel like in the Black community, because I can't really speak for any other community, but I know that it seems like we fall victim to those marketing schemes every day. Why is that?
Because naturally, people, and it's old ancient Chinese, I'm going to go old ancient Chinese here, right? People are naturally evil, right? Being good is something that, you either find God, you either find purpose, you either find something to make you be good, right? Because naturally you have to really work to be a good person, right? So if you haven't worked through that process, most people who've come out of survival mindset haven't really worked through that process because life has been about survival. So imagine coming out of survival and somebody's walking to you. Let's say you're out on the street and you panhandling, right? And you was at your bottom, right? And somebody drops $100 in the bucket. You gonna give it back to them? No, you're gonna sit out there, right? And then somebody keep dropping $100 in the bucket. Now you leave and you was panhandling. You leave that day and you had $50,000. Are you gonna get that 50K back? No, you're gonna keep it. So naturally, what's happening is if somebody's willing to throw money at people who haven't healed yet, they're gonna take it. So now what's happening with a lot of those is let me find a hustle to see how many people can give me money so that I can take it. So it's not even a matter of they're intentionally trying to rip people off. They're just trying to come up, right? But now what's happening is they made the come up so easy. It's kind of like, well, hey, I made a few $100,000 here. Let me go ahead and do this and make a few $100,000.
Right.
And then it becomes about how much they're making and about survival still than actually serving the people. Because you got to realize most people who coming out of survival aren't thinking about a 10-year business or a 20-year business. They're thinking about getting out of the rut that they're in. And that's what's happening. Now you face a battle between the people that's trying to build for 20 years and the people that's just trying to survive right now. Yeah, that's kind of, where it came from. And that's why people are making offers and people are taking advantage of people that way.
So you mentioned something that's really interesting, especially right now, kind of like in my own entrepreneur journey, just really understanding the importance of healing because it does have a really big impact on your business. And I mean, everything in your life, but especially if you're an entrepreneur, your business, how you operate your business, how you make money, and really just learning how to heal.
Right.
And you mentioned that. So like, what did that journey look like for you, as far as healing?
So healing will have you doing stuff like what I did, buying a Rolls Royce, and buying my wife a Bentley the month after and buying a Lambo. So there's nothing wrong if you're doing it the right way for the right reasons. I can honestly say I didn't do it for the right reason. right? That's just my accountability. That's me. Now, the good side is the Lambos and the Rolls Royces and all of that got me in rooms that I wouldn't have had access to, right? But it only really impressed people who couldn't afford it. The rooms I needed to be in, they really wasn't impressed. So I used them to get in that room because I knew that I was a powerhouse, right? Like, all I got to do is get in the room. I'm good there, right? So I used it for that, but I tricked myself into saying it was for that. But when I really thought about it, I just looked at the power that I felt that I had when I drove the Rolls Royce. I was accepted because everybody was looking like, "Ooh, you made it." But see, I was raised in a house where we didn't really have anything, right? I had hand-me-down clothes where I went to school smelling like pee, or, it was 5 boys and sometimes we didn't have water, right? My feet were stinking in school and I had to hide them. Like, this is a real thing that you go through and you end up really hurt, right? But you have that chip on the shoulder because the people that did or didn't laugh at you, you want to show them that I'm better now, that I can be accepted now. That you want to inflict power on them. And you do that through buying the Rolls Royce, like, oh, I did it. Y'all couldn't stop me, blah, blah, blah. I hate the ones that laughed at me versus, and I killed relationships that I should have actually been nurturing, right? So healing, when you haven't fully healed, it don't matter how much money you get because you will throw it back away trying to get at people and you'll try to be somebody. And what I realized is the people weren't looking at me. They was looking at the car because it's only one in every 300,000 cars on the road was a Rolls Royce or a Lambo. So then I realized when I was in the other cars, they wasn't looking. So they wasn't looking at me. So part of that healing is kind of being self-aware that once you really start finding your purpose, that's the only time that you'll really heal. But a lot of healing comes with forgiveness too, because as you're in the underdog phase, everybody loves you.
Right.
But as you start growing, then you start seeing the hate. But if you haven't healed properly, you'll think that the hate is personal. And you're not realizing that the other people that are hating are not really hating, they're healing too. And then you start crapping on the people that's healing, creating a war zone when you got to be the one to step up and lead and say, no, let me help you heal. And that's what I realized, what's the difference. And healing just means that you got to understand that everybody's going through a different phase of their life. And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of relationship building. It takes a lot of getting hurt. Right? But then when you realize that, hey, they didn't hurt me because they hated me. They hurt me because they hated themselves. And I was a reflection of what they couldn't get done at the time. But let me show them they can get it done versus clowning them for hating on me. And it's deep. You know what I'm saying? But once you realize that, you will realize what other people are hurting at and you'll be able to help them heal as well.
Ooh, I really resonate with that because I started, like I said, 2018, full-time entrepreneurship. Started in the trucking industry with my husband. He brought me into entrepreneurship.
Shout out to Austin.
Yes. And for a while, we did struggle, trying to build up the trucking company, poor money management, over leveraging with credit. And then once we finally, I would say, kind of hit and started making a ton of money, that I feel like that trauma came back and then we started spending. I mean, we moved into a penthouse that cost us $10,000 a month just so that we can say, hey, we did this. We're here. This is, look at what we have. And so we recently have been going through our own journey of healing and realizing that the material things, they don't equal what you're worth and what your value is.
And that's the second phase of healing too. Because the first phase is thinking that if you don't have the money, you hurting. You know how many people dealing with depression because of the lack of money?
Yep.
And then now getting the money and realize, dang, that wasn't even the problem in the first place. So the second phase of healing is after the money.
Yep.
And that could be worse. Because not only you dealing with other problems of, the worst thing you can do is become a millionaire without a plan to get 10. Right? Because now you got so much fear of, look, we did it. What if I fall off? Now it's, dang, they're going to think I'm a fraud. And that's even worse than never making it. Yeah. Because now you got to keep a certain standard, because if you ever fall off, it's going to look like everything that you told people was a lie. It's going to look like, so it's a different level of depression that sets in at that point, because then you realize, while getting the money, I lost friends, I lost family, I lost a lot of people, and you're out here on an island by yourself, kinda, but then you don't want to be it's always this thing in the back of the head, like, man, I hope I don't get found out or figured out because I'm a real person.
Yeah.
Because dang, I might not make $1 million the next year. I might not make 2 or 3 the next year. So, it's always, well, if I had money, I'll do this. But money only magnifies who you really are. If you wasn't donating and giving to charity when you had $100, you're not just going to start doing it when you get $1 million. Right? So, but you realize that money changes the people around you, and that's a different level of healing. So, I think my healing journey is when you first get the money, you do the things that when you didn't have the money, you say you'll do. But those are the things that you created and developed in your head that was success when you didn't have money. So success changes after that because it's like a vacation when you plan it for everybody. You buy your ticket, everybody's down to go until it's time to actually buy the ticket. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the same with when you make $1 million, you want to bring everybody along so that you have these dope team vacations and the whole circle winning. But I think when you get hit with the reality that everybody isn't really built to win or wired to like grind to win, that sets on another level of depression. Or it's not even really depression. Reality just kicks in.
That's really powerful. Like I said, I really resonate with that message. But I don't believe in coincidences. It wasn't even remember before we were on camera, we kind of talked about the direction I wanted to go. But I feel like that message, it's for the audience and I hope they take something from it. But I really feel like that was for me. I really do. Because that's something, like I said, that with our journey, that's what we're going through right now with going through that process of healing. Because once you make a ton of money, you think that is the problem and you realize that wasn't even anywhere near the real issue.
Well, because it's like, what I start doing is going through a checklist. And when people say, well, I tell them, well, what's your goal? And then they say, well, I just want to make a lot of money. For what? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, I want to be able to give back to the community. Go just give back to the community. Like, well, okay, money. Joseph Hackett. Shout out to Joseph. Go learn how to get grants. And I think you even show people how to get grants or brought somebody on to do it, right? So, but my thing is information out here. So I think it's okay. Don't worry about the money. Focus on the grants. Put in the work. I think the putting in the work and the process side is what people are scared of. They'll pay money all day to be able to get a quick result. You get what I'm saying? And they forget that they got to actually go through the process. See, they'll look at what you guys have, right? And then they'll think that if I pay you, I'm going to automatically get there. Right? But they forget that, I'm giving you the game, but you're forgetting that you still got to go through the process too. So I think when it boils down to it, a lot of us really want what it look like, but we really don't know what it feels like, and that can lead to a depression. And it's because entrepreneur looks like I might make $100K this week and literally might not make but 5 the next. And a lot of people over leverage when they make that $100K, then now they panicking when they hit the 5, and it's just up and down, man. But the message that I have for the people who are actually listening though is it's not for the weak. It's definitely not for the weak. And if you're not willing to put in, because you got to realize most people, we're marketing when things are up to let you know we got to keep you motivated. But then when you get into the program, that's when we break down like what doesn't work, the pain points, the struggles and things like that, because people don't want to hear that on the front end. And so, and that goes back to your first question, why people fall for it. Like, if I had $100, I mean, my hand out and you willing to give me $100 to tell you that it's going to be easy and that, hey, I took my unemployment money and just became a millionaire in 3 weeks, of course you will buy it. But if you buy it and you lose, stop calling people scammers for, I didn't get value of it. You scam yourself because you didn't do due diligence on that and you wasn't thinking about the process you would have to go through.
A lot of people are scamming themselves, thinking that buying a course or even getting into a coaching program is just going to be the magic pill that skyrockets their business to, $1 million plus a year.
And I can give a formula. If you're not spending at least 15% of what you're making in your company back on continuing education, why in the world would you expect your business to grow? That's kind of like if you plant the seed, right, and you don't water the seed, how in the world is it going to grow? So what people are doing is they'll plant the seed in the course, right? Plant the seed in another course, plant the seed. You got 1,000 seeds you done planted, but you ain't watering anything. But then you come back next year and you're like, it ain't grew. And then they mad, the seed don't work. No, the seed worked. You just abandoned it. And so nobody's pouring water on the course. The course is there to be able to implement. The course isn't there to say, oh, I know this information, so I'm rich now. Nobody ever got rich off being smart. It's a lot of smart people that just go work for people. It's the hustlers and the grinders and the risk takers that they go work for, though. And so, being smart is cool, but I think research and execution is way more important than that.
And I love how you mentioned with planting the seeds and not abandoning it,
Oh, man.
And I noticed that a lot of people, I think, when it comes to getting the information, because we're taught, knowledge is wealth, right? And so we think that just the more that we learn, the more that we'll be able to grow. For the people who are in analysis paralysis, right? So like they're constantly learning and learning and learning. What is something that you think they can do to get out of that phase and actually take action?
You know what my saying, I always tell people, done is better than perfect because perfect never gets done. Once you learn that, most people who have that I want to go out and get it, entrepreneur spirit, also have a form of kind of like ADHD, right? And that means that I'm so ambitious. I got so many things I'm working on. My mind is 3 years out. So I hate going through the process now because my mind done worked so far past this. This part right here in real time is boring to me because my head is somewhere else. But we don't realize that the people out there head isn't there because they're not thinkers like that. They're not visionaries. So our job is to be a visionary for somebody else. And we got to go through this process here because a lot of times, and that was my problem. I used to think, well, I said that before. But yeah, that was to an audience that already went somewhere else. I got to continue the message to actually become the expert of the message. And I think a lot of us, we're so quick to move forward and we never start getting anything done. So you get people that take a course and every time you ask them, hey, what's your business? Oh, I just need this one thing before I get started. Why haven't you started yet? So one of the things I do is I go ahead and just literally say, all right, boom, it's done, and then I offer it. And then that's my accountability to make sure that now I can always tweak it and change it as it goes.
Right.
And what happens is I give people two options. You got a seed price or you got a fruit price. The seed price is those who believe that it's going to be good. Those are the people who've been riding with you. So like, let's say if I launch something, boom, $9.97 from the beginning. You never saw how it looked. That means you believe in it because you never saw how it looked. That means you ride with me, believe in me. You get the $9.97 price. But by the time it's successful and people are leaving testimonials and it works, see, it's no longer a seed. It's fruit at that point. You got to pay more for the fruit because it's already proven that it works for people. You can also see it. You got the testimonials on it. So you can't get it for the $9.97. So one of the things that I started implementing with that is start giving people and then start offering to the people that you're giving because they're going to be asking you certain things, provide a solution for them.
Right.
And the ones who believe in you that you can provide the solution, give them a better price. And what'll start happening is you can always improve it later to the people who don't know you. The people who believe in you are going to be with you. They understand it's a process, it's a journey. So what people are doing is they're trying to go and offer something to a cold audience. And while they're building and so-called waiting to launch, they're not even building an audience. So they think that they're going to launch this big, great product with no audience and it's going to work. That's why they aren't getting it done. But if they started building an audience, the audience will tell you what they want to buy from you. They'll be like, hey, do you help with this? What about this? Those are literally asking for you to provide a solution. If you had that audience, you'll just go ahead and start getting it done. They'll be patient with you and at least you can make revenue along the journey. So that's literally all I do.
And I know that you've built a very strong audience.
Yeah.
And a very strong community. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what prompted you to even get online? And I mean, you share so much for free. And I mean, you have an entire group, with the Free Business Academy. And like what prompted you to even start that?
Well, because people needed it. I'm a gift that I got. I don't know if it's a gift. I see patterns way ahead of time. I follow patterns. It's easy. Every way I knew the world was going from a financial standpoint, it's going, and it's constantly trending in that division. In that direction. But one of the things that I saw is this unemployment gonna run out. The PPP money going to get spent. The EIDL is going to get this. And a lot of people who spent all of the money learning from Dancing Bears are going to be stuck with the thirst to learn because now they got conditioned to get in the room, to learn. But now if they run out of money, it's not a room to get in. I had to create that room. And what I realized is upon creating that room, it gave a lot of people the chance to be able to see entrepreneurship in real time. And so what the Free Business Academy did, it wasn't to like give you a full breakdown to be an expert in the industry. It was to give you all the information to get started in the industry that you needed so that you can say, all right, this is free, but at least I know enough to make a decision on this is what I want to do or not. And then therefore it linked them with a coach that they can actually go down a lane to. So it wasn't like, hey, I want you to go and start a trucking company. I want you to go and start a credit repair company too, and a tax company and write grants and Forex and all that. No, learn and learn and learn, and then you'll get triggered to decide on where you wanted to go. So when I looked at the fact that I came from a small town called Swainsboro, and either you worked at Walmart or you drove trucks, or you drove 30 miles to work at Train and fix air conditioners, right? But outside of that, there were no millionaires that ever came back and talked to us about anything. And if they were, nobody talked about them because you didn't want to talk good about somebody who was doing good in that kind of town, right? That's kind of where I came up. And if they was doing bad, you knew everything about them, right? So I wanted to be the person, because when I realized that, man, when we start talking about our town, the world is changing. Our town is literally online now. The community is online. So I didn't look at it as building a Facebook group. I built the city and a safe haven for people to actually be able to come and learn from. Because the reality is, we know more people online now than we know in our own neighborhood, in our own town. So now if that became our new city, we had to build a city. And nobody's trying to build a city right now. They're waiting on their city to provide for them. And that's why they aren't building success. So I said, well, instead of the people having to wait to their town to bring it to them, let's go create a town that we bring it to them so that we can answer and kill two birds with one stone.
And a lot of newer business owners, entrepreneurs are sometimes afraid to give things away for free because the mindset of, well, if I give everything away for free, why would somebody pay me later for that information? Is that something that you believe is true? Or like, how do you overcome that mindset?
Well, because everybody's on this 80-20, and when they learned that in the 80s and 90s. That's before social media and you had access. You got ChatGPT, we can get an answer on about anything, right? So where it comes to information, right, what's not in the book is what I went through. The only thing that's in a book or in ChatGPT is what people documented. See, the stuff that's in my head is not documented. You can't get access to that. So information, the stuff that you can get from Google, the stuff you can get from ChatGPT, I think that should be free. But what the information does is, because everybody's like, give 80% of the information, sell 20. Okay, if I know you're doing that and we competitors, right, I'm going to give 100 away. What that'll do is that 20% that you're not answering before people needed to make a decision, I'm giving it. So now they're going to identify me as the expert, because now I charge for the process. See, process is my process. I don't document that in a book. You can't find my process in ChatGPT.
Right.
You can't find how I overcame things in ChatGPT or how I would think through things. That's process. So when I'm offering a step-by-step process of my way of doing things, that's not documented. So you pay for process. I give you all the information. You pay for process, and you pay more for access, because access means that you're trying to access my time now. And anytime I got to take away from my day-to-day and where I'm trying to go to stop and focus on you, that's access. So you got to pay more at that point. So the reason I give is because God gives. I think one of the biggest things is we're so transactional, and we think, man, if I give you, I got to immediately get something back from you. But God might have put me in a position to give you because you didn't have it right then, so that he can pay me back. And then we realize that the biggest givers live an abundant life. And we like, why are things always working out for them? No, it's the energy that you put out in the universe, right? So if you're a giver with the thought of, I know God gonna get me back, I don't fall out with people based on not paying me back or not buying because I'm giving. They might not buy, but they know 10 people that they're going to put on to you because your information is legit and you give more information than anybody else. So what that does is it allows you to build a bigger audience. And now if I can build 100,000 people in the audience who I gave stuff to, I got 100,000 people with questions now. And those questions mean that it's not information in the market that they can get. I can create a solution. So your biggest business analyst and feedback analysts in your company are going to be the people that you give to for free, because they literally going to tell you what they want to buy from you.
Right.
It's your job to listen and stop being arrogant and thinking that you're above because you're a millionaire. No, your job is to listen and then say, well, dang, everybody's asking this. That means there's nothing out here on the market. Let me create it. So now when you pop up and you do a free thing and they're having questions, you say, oh, well, I got a course on that. Now you got thousands of people saying, well, I want that course. And now you're building a course based on experience. You're building a course based on feedback, and you know you're offering people what they need so that when you do offer it, they're buying like that. But they feel guilty if they don't buy because you gave so much information on it. Then now that was the one question that they had. And if they got that question, thousands of others got that question. They just wasn't brave enough to ask. So that's why I give, because it's going to automatically identify you as the expert. And then they're going to trust it, whatever you offer them.
Especially listening to different business coaches, social media coaches, they talk about how, charging your worth, so it's like you don't want to give anyone access at all. You don't want to talk to people, answer DMs. Like, what do you think about that? Because do you answer DMs? Because I'm sure you get a lot.
I call people. Like, people are weird out here, right? Yeah. Those are sound bites. Charge your word, charge your word, charge your word. No, charge what charge market value. Charge what the market is worth, right? Anybody can go and say, I'm worth $200,000. Who told you was worth that? So, and I think it's a heightened or false sense of reality that people have. They go hire these coaches to tell them, make $1 million offer, make all kind of offers, make $100,000 million offers, knowing that you don't have $100,000 million solution, right? So you got a bunch of people over inflating or over evaluating themselves or having a false sense of reality of who they are, what they bring to the marketplace. They're the only ones that's saying that, right? And I'm willing to bet you that they don't have hundreds of people really backing them saying that they changed their lives. So I think that when it comes to charging your worth and this and that, I think that's just a bunch of crap. I think what it comes down to is you got to calculate, okay, how much is my expense to buy my time back, right? So like, let's say my payroll is $1,000 an hour. And let's say because 160 hours in a month. So like, let's say if my payroll $200,000 a month, right? Between everybody I got in there. That means that I pay $200K a month to buy my time back, right? That's how much my time costs. So if you calculate that by 160 hours a month, right? So it's a little over like $1,100, $1,200 an hour, right? That I bought my freedom. So now if you want to get on the phone with me, I got to calculate that in, because if I charge anything less than what I'm paying out to buy my freedom, I'm going into the black because I bought it for this. It's just economics. If you buy something for $1,000 and sell it for $500, you losing. Right. So if I done bought my time back and that was the key, right? It ain't got nothing to do with the money I done made. It's about how much the time and the systems that I paid for to be free, to free up the time to be able to talk to you for an hour. It has to make sense. So when you get people that don't have any payroll, any systems, and they'll go out there and be like, $50,000 and we'll meet 3 times a year, and I'll let other people speak from the stage and do all of that, I think it's a bunch of crap. And I think it's just a money grab, because very seldom do you see people that go out and build real businesses. All you see from these programs are a bunch of coaches that's offering the same programs over and over and over, and they just making offers and they're not building real business. So I think a lot of those charge your worth and make a bunch of offers or dancing bear incubators at that point. So when it comes to your worth, I think your worth has to be matched by your assignment. If God calls me to do something free for somebody that I would normally charge somebody else $30,000 for, I got to be obedient. Because it ain't the fact that they got to pay me the $30K. I know God gonna give me that back, right? But I know that when I'm put in a position to be able to serve somebody because I got the resources that they might not have, I don't know the strength of their faith or their prayer. And I'm looking at it as like, okay, this might not be a coincidence that God is making me hear it this way. So I think that it's all about staying true to your assignment. One thing that I know that's never been false, that if you do right, the money will come. And people say that and people be like, man, the money ain't came yet. Right. It's because your intention ain't pure. But once your intention becomes pure and you actually serve that way, the money has never not came. So, because that's another person that's going to have more problems. Right. And if I can help them make $100K, even if they ain't have that 30, I can get the 30 out the back end.
I think one thing that people get sucked into the cycle of is not following their purpose because they're really busy following just what they think is going to make the most money right now, especially with all the coaches that you see. They're like, oh, you can make, $1 million in trucking, or you can make...
They're mentors. They're not coaches.
Oh, okay. So what's the difference?
They're a mentor. So a mentor is basically 90% of the people you see with the car, with the house, with this, with that, and every time you see them, they're in front of that. And then they say, well, tap into, I can show you how to live a certain lifestyle. Show you how to live a certain lifestyle means follow me. I'm a mentor. I set a blueprint to follow. A coach literally has to evaluate you, your shortcomings, be able to identify what you're missing, focus on you, and coach you through what it's going to take to live that lifestyle. Mentors miss that. Mentors have programs. You show up, you hit their stage, or you're on a course, you're on a Zoom call, but it's not one-on-one help to get that coaching that's actually needed out there. For instance, Michael Jordan would be a mentor to Kobe Bryant, but Phil Jackson was Kobe Bryant's coach, right? So Mike paved the way. Mike set a blueprint that Kobe needed to follow to actually achieve. Mike didn't have one-on-one time, right? A mentor might pour into you as you're growing and things like that, right? But what a coach has to do is to say, hey, every time you shoot that jump shot from that side, that's a weak side right there, and you don't get back on defense that way. So your coach would actually do that to make sure that you're becoming the best version of yourself, and to be able to say, okay, let me identify your personal stuff as what's holding you back. Then you can reach the goal. So what Phil will do is say, hey, Kobe, do this, this, and this. Right. Then you can do, this is what Mike did. You get what I'm saying? So Kobe can follow Mike as a mentor, but Phil was actually Kobe's coach. And a coach that stops what they're doing to be able to focus on you. Mentors started charging coaching price. No mentor should have a $50 or $70 or $100,000 program whatsoever. And that's my opinion, because it's a mentorship. Coaches charge like that because now going back, if my payroll is $2,000 an hour and I gave you 20 hours of coaching in a year, I got to charge you $50K. And if I don't, then that means that I'm discounting the time that I already bought. And then another thing is, you get the people who say, if I got to pay that for a coach, I don't need them. Do you want a coach who can afford to coach you for $100 an hour? That means that they ain't even successful enough in what they're coaching you in to coach you. Wow. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So a person that could take away from their business at $100 an hour, that means that their payroll is less than $100 an hour. You still having to calculate in your head is, okay, if they can coach me for $100 an hour, they probably not even doing $10K a month. You get what I'm saying? So that's just one of those things. Now, maybe a call here just to kind of see if we can help. That's cool. Right. But when it comes to like coaching though, it was mentors charging coaching prices, and everybody paid a bunch of money, and they got in a room, and then they became fans of the people that was in the room, but they left with nothing but inspiration. And then they were stuck wondering why it wasn't working. I know people who paid coaches $50,000 to $100,000 don't even have a system. You get what I'm saying? Wow. And they're telling them, the coaches, yeah, get a system, but hey, there's somebody else out here, but you got to buy the system from. And it's just a bunch of passing around to coach. Hey, go to my coach and pay him more money. Right. And then that coach got, well, this person in the room offers this, and by the time you're done with the room, you $400,000 out, and you done made $200,000 back, and then you mad at yourself. But then the people in the room booze you, so you won't call them out. But then they'll go to a real coach that tells them that the process. And then they don't want to go through the process, and then they'll act like the real coach ain't helping. So that's the cycle that they in. They confusing mentorship with coaching.
That's interesting. And it seems like people don't even know if they're a coach or a mentor. You know, they think that they're coaching people when they're really not.
No, they're basically giving a bunch of what would I do scenarios. So they get questions, and it's like, well, what I would do, it ain't about you. Right. Mentors are narcissists a lot. And it's about them. That's why every time you see them, it's about, look what I did, look what I got, look at the life I'm living. You can buy my program to live this life. And lifestyle marketing is cool as long as it's backed by substance. But when it's backed by fluff, that's what everybody is getting. That's why I'm calling it before it happens. Watch how, and I've been calling it, but watch how the exposure culture starts to grow from all of the remorse or all of the, regret that people have from throwing all of that money in the last 3 years. You about to start seeing a lot of coaches or a lot of mentors that pose as coaches get exposed in these high-end programs that's literally the same, basically people paying $50K for group coaching now.
Well, I've been seeing lately a lot of influencers, getting called out for allegedly like with scams, or, just not being legitimate with whatever program that they're selling. It seems like that's happening a lot, especially this year in 2023.
Yeah. And, and even good businesses are going to get strays behind it because it's going to be the message. Now everybody's going to be calling out everybody, even the people that did right? But you're right. And a lot of those people, it goes back to the beginning. If somebody's going to pay me for a real estate program, if somebody's going to pay me this and they throwing it to me because I'm popular, it ain't even about being an expert no more. I just got to pay to get popular now.
Right.
So what people are doing, pay to get in the room, get around other influencers so people can say, oh, you rock with them. I'll pay you the money. And what's happening is a lot of these people didn't get the growth that they thought. I don't think a lot of people got scammed. So the only scam that I can honestly see is if somebody took your money, didn't invest it like they say they would. Now they've scammed, or somebody who completely lied about everything and just took the money, block you, and things like that. I think that if they did provide a service, then they didn't scam you. I think they just didn't do the due diligence on before they paid all that money for that service, and they thought it was going to get something more. That's on them because they didn't do the due diligence on that person. The problem is by the time they see a person like me who done built these businesses and actually did it, they'll have to vet me a long time because I don't lead with the flashy stuff. Of course, I kind of have to show that, okay, I did accomplish it. I do have it, so that you don't start looking at me like, oh, he just fluffing. But the people who lead with that looks like they're winning, but they're going to be the people who start getting called out because it's just the same program. You see 5-day challenge, this into a high ticket offer, into a bunch of group coaching.
Right.
And that's what's going. So I'm against that. And, I can go on record and say I'm against that. I just don't like it. And it ain't about what I don't like. I just saw what it done to the people.
Right.
Because when you look at economics all the way across the board, the urban wealth didn't go up. Urban wealth actually went down, even though all of that money that was influxed in the community, there's only a handful of the people got a bunch of the money in a short amount of time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, they can reinvest and do certain things, but the people who believed in that didn't get what they needed.
You mentioned that there are going to be some real business owners that do kind of get hit with the strays just from people now are a lot more skeptical than they were, 3 years ago. And I know that you've even had situations that I've seen online where people are, maybe saying that you're not legitimate, And one thing that I can say is that, like I said, I've been involved with a lot of different people online. You're really one of the only people who have been really solid. And I know that I've worked with you several times, and there's a system that your team built that still makes us money every single month.
Right.
But how do you deal with that, with people who are, quote unquote, trying to expose you or say that you're a scam?
Right. So I think, and a lot of people gonna hit it. My buddy David Shands had a really good post the other day. You cannot become popular without getting attacked. Nobody who became popular didn't get attacked. So just imagine if we were all dogs, right? God forbid we're not, right? But let's say if you get this one dog in an environment where it's a bunch of hungry dogs, and that one dog get the bloody steak, and it's running around with a bloody steak in their mouth, and they're eating in an environment where everybody else is hungry and struggling in, right? What are those other dogs going to do? Are they not going to attack the dog that has the bloody steak, and if they don't even know where their next meal going to come at? Or do they just sit there and let the dog eat the delicious bloody steak in front of them, right? So I think what's happening is the person that's actually winning, the person that actually creates traction, the people who don't have access to it, instead of saying, let me go learn from them, it's easy to attack. Instead of saying, well, where did you get the bloody steak from? Can you show me exactly how you did that? Hunt the animal down to get the steak, blah, blah, blah. No, they're like, bro, I want what you got. So you become the target. But I think that's big in the urban community, though. And so when people start talking about the effects and the fallouts of slavery, right? That's the part that's still with us because everybody was competing to be the one that made it to safety first. They were competing to be the one that actually did certain things. You don't ever hear a Caucasian say, I'm the first Caucasian woman that did something, or I'm the first Caucasian guy that did something. No, they say I'm the first. But we're the only ones saying, I'm the first black man under 37 or under, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Instead of saying, hey, I just accomplished this. or we don't fight to be first a lot. But what happens is when you see somebody who's on the verge of being first and you felt like you should be first, the attacks start to happen because now they're not going to let you hit the top with that. So those are the straight bullets that people are going to hit. And I think that those are indicators. See, we hear it different. When that started happening to me, and I want people to write this down, at every level of slander, it's every level of you have to change your audience. Ooh, so what starts to happen is you will start out serving a product. Let's say it's credit repair. Boom. I got a bunch of people following me from credit repair, right? And I was fixing credit and it was like, oh, you're really good with credit repair. Then if you get stuck there, that means that you're allowing people to grow around you. You got to elevate. Now I can coach people on building credit repair companies with the success I did here. What starts to happen is if you just stay at credit repair, a bunch of the people are going to be like, man, the more people you get, the more bad people you're going to get, right? Oh, it's a scam. It don't work, blah, blah, blah. And it's easy to cancel somebody. But you got to elevate. And so when that starts to happen, you got to elevate and you got to remove that audience. Remove the audience that don't grow with you. And see, it's people that's probably on a lot of people's Facebook page from 6 years ago when they was doing something else and you expect them to believe in what you're doing now. No, that was your club crowd. You got a business now. How in the world you expect your club crowd to be a part of your business? Y'all was talking about buying a table together, but you can't talk to them about starting a business together. So now what starts to happen is your little business, they start throwing shots so they don't understand, bro, got to be scamming. No, it's time to remove them. And once you start removing the people don't have access to call you a scam. Now, in order to call me a scam, you got to be able to afford me.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So now, if your affordability is always low, you're going to have low-level people with access to you, and they ain't even healed yet. But I guarantee you, if you had $100,000 price tag because you know you can help them become a millionaire, everybody with $100,000 ain't worrying about getting scammed. They ready to execute.
And that really resonates with me because me and Austin were actually talking about this recently because I really built my brand off of like low ticket products, helping them with just getting started. Right. And I'm at a point now where I really am ready to elevate my brand because it does become draining because a lot of the people that you are helping, they are not healed. Right. And it affects not only your business, but just like your mental health overall.
Yeah. And so I think it's a matter, like what you're doing is amazing. I want to give you flowers while you're here. Like you're really doing amazing stuff. So you can't leave without saying that. But I think knowing your heart, what you're doing is still good because you got the servant side, right? The servant side allows me to do the cheap products, right? But that cheap product might find my diamond in the rough. So because it's your job at this point, you got to continue to provide the low-level products. Right. And then you got to identify the ones that work the ones that worked it, because they show that I'm ready for the next level. Right. So those low-level items need to stay, but just identify the ones who, hey, you're ready to go to the next level, because you got an obligation to grow. Because it's just like if you go to church and you see that your pastor been the same the last 10 years and he ain't evolving, how the church going to evolve? So now the leader has to personally, the leader has a responsibility to personally grow so that they know where to follow, right? Okay. And so now while you're growing, you don't add access to that growth for the people who actually hear, then you leave them behind at the low ticket items. So you got to bring people at a higher ticket to get more access, but they got to pay for more access, right? Because when they pay more attention, right? But then as you grow, those levels of access grow. And at the very top, you might not have 2-3 investors with you. Like at my top, I got a handful of people, the Kens, the Brandons, the L's, the people who I know can go out and generate millions of dollars, right? But the people who I don't have to always, but as I tap into my next level of growth, they right there, and I know they're capable of it.
A lot of business owners do struggle with figuring out like how can they elevate and not stay at the same place, because you can get very comfortable with what you're doing. It's very easy to get complacent.
Yep. But the worst thing to do now is get complacent with the way technology is moving. Like you can literally have the best thing and the most sought after thing in the world, and it can be gone like that. Wow. For instance, when the last time you've seen somebody talk about the Popeye chicken sandwich?
A long time.
But there was a time where literally everything on the internet was about the Popeye's chicken sandwich. Yeah. The worst thing that could have happened is them running out of the Popeye's chicken sandwich at the time that they built the demand for it. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So now they didn't tap into what they could have tapped in, but people do that all the time. You got the hot thing on the market and then you get comfortable with it and you're not growing. And what starts to happen is everybody that you're teaching, even if they paying you or not, they learning from you. They following you. They tracking you down. They trying to come around you. Right. So if you don't grow, what's going to start to happen is your students are going to become your competition, and that's where war starts. And then you're going to be beefing with students who just wanted to be you the whole time. So if you didn't force yourself to level up, they don't have anything to go behind. And there's nothing disrespectful than a person who think that they done came around you. That's when you start saying, man, I taught them everything. They don't even show love no more. Yep. Because when they think they came around you, they don't even give you credit for teaching them no more because they think they competition now. Yep. And so I done had that happen so many times. I mean, a lot of people getting their karma now. A lot of people, man, I help become millionaires and they just try to destroy my brand. But kind of, life done showed around. They kind of got canceled this year. But the thing about it is it happens though. But see, I had to stop focusing on that because the way I do business is different now. But I think that in order to prevent the people from doing that, you gotta level up. You got an obligation to level up. Because as long as my coach is leveling up, I'm going to continue to pay him to level up. I mean, and it's just real. If you came around your coach and you know they complacent, you're going to get another coach. I mean, and so coaches can't take it personal. So.
I love that you said that you have an obligation to level up.
Got to. How you going to teach somebody about growth when you stop doing it? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And a lot of people, I'm your growth coach. I'm your growth coach. Prove to me where you grew between 21 and 23. Well, I didn't know. Prove it.
Right.
Nobody can. Or if they can, then they can. They can't. I can immediately say, okay, boom, here go the merchant accounts. Boom, here go the social media. Here go the impact. Look how many new businesses I bought. Here go the P&L statements from them. It's easy. I can literally lay that out. And I can comfortably lay it out. And that's why I say, even everybody who try to attack me, now I know one of my flaws is I might delay a product that I offer because it's not up to par the way that I thought. But other than that, it's never going to be on some he scammed me. But one of the things I did say is anybody who's ever tried to expose me online, I came with receipts to show that they was lying about it. You get what I'm saying? Because boom, hey, you left a testimony showing that I literally changed you in your family life. You see the car you posed in front of that you credited me for giving you? How you going to say it didn't work now?
Do you think that's important though to come out with the receipts? Because I know some people say, well, I just let people say whatever they, going to say. And if people believe it, so what? Do you think it's important to?
I think at phases of life. Okay. So at the beginning phase, it's about your brand. At the phase that I'm in now, it's about my legacy. When you're attacking my brand, I'm not coming back, actually. When you're attacking my legacy, I am. Because now a legacy is what you fight for. That's different. Right. So at the point now, saying little hateful comments and things like that, I'm used to it. But so-called trying to expose me opens me up to be able to defend myself. I've never came at anybody online. I've only made videos when it's time to bring the receipts out, because what you're talking about, you're trying to gain traction off my name. And once I realized with the 48 laws of power, once you try to come in and you try to attack my legacy, I got to completely destroy your credibility at that point. And it might be the straight bullet that you need is going to take you out of business. So what I tell people, if you're not equipped to fight a war to try to defend and protect and keep you in business, don't come at me, because I got lots of resources to destroy everything about you. But it's not even a matter of destroying them. It's more about protecting my brand. But if you got to catch that stray, sometimes people catch that stray, and I'm going to come with the receipts. So because you got to realize, if I can stop them in their tracks, they won't do it to nobody else. And see, they'll bully everybody else online. They'll try to counsel them. But you got to realize with the counsel culture, you got to prepare for the counsel culture too. And also, I live by faith. So if you're going to believe what they say, I don't need you to grow with me anyway, because you're weak-minded. And there might be some things where we might fall out in growing and building. Me and Ken, we disagree on a lot of stuff, but we understand that it's for growth. We understand that, hey, I might say some stuff to make you might not want to talk to me for a whole week. We might go a week without talking. But at the end, we realize, man, you know what, bro? You was real about that whole thing. And I think that, just sometimes that's needed, though.
It seems that you have a pretty strong village or community around you. I know you mentioned Ken. You mentioned Elle. I see them all the time, just connecting with you on social media or different projects that you're doing with them, businesses. If someone's trying to build a network how you've built, you know, or a group of people that you can do business with, what are some suggestions that you have for people to just build those genuine relationships? And then also, how has that impacted you and the things that you've been able to achieve now?
Tremendously. So I don't wake up and be like, how much money can I make? I wake up and say, how can I help Ken make 10 million? How can I help Brandon make 10 million? How can I help Elle make 10 million? Right? So my uncle, it's 2 pieces of wisdom that he gave me that changed my whole life. Right? He's my great Uncle James. He just turned 83, by the way. So he said, when you're trying to find a woman, the way that you will know that that's your wife, when you know that she will put you in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, if you get paralyzed, she the one. And a lot of people like, has she checked the box of the type of person that will push you in a wheelchair for the rest of your life right now, right? Because like you got people that's up and they'll find a woman, but okay, they know deep down inside that woman because they got about her look. She's still young. She still got a lot of life to live. Will she put her life on hold right now to marry you or to push you in a wheelchair in marriage? Or will she be like, I can't do this? That might not be the one. You get what I'm saying? So when I realized that, I met my Kayla, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, she got the heart. That's her. And the second thing he said was, when you find good people with good hearts, and this is key, not the people who with you because of what you got, when you know that they got a good heart and they down with you, take them everywhere with you. Take them all the way. Keep good people around. Good people, like real good, deep-rooted, good heart people are so hard to find. They pose like they're good people online, right? But when you realize that, man, these are like really good-hearted people with, you know, they're so genuine, man, take them to the end of the world with you. And when you do that, you will never have a regret. Some people gonna come along and pose good, but once they get exposed, you realize, all right, ain't really nothing I can do. But the people that you're taking with you along the way, as long as they're good people, you will never, ever, ever, you know, be a burden. They'll never be a burden to you because they're good people. And good people are automatically gonna make sure that whatever assignment that you on, they not gonna let you fail. They're going to tell you, bro, you look stupid when you did that. Hey, you can't be out here doing this. Ken always hit me, bro, take that down. You look real stupid, man.
Accountability.
Like, yeah, and you need it. At first, I might cuss Ken back out. Like, bro, you know, and we didn't have these conversations. It's real. But then I have to hit him back. Like, bro, like, at least he was one of the ones that told me. I was so hot at the time when you said it. Yeah. I didn't see it from that side. But it's like, bro, I apologize. It's like, bro, that's all I was trying to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're growing, you don't see how people look at you. You just see I'm the same person, right?
Right.
He's looking at my brand from another side. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes I might be delayed on something and L like, hey, let me get this done for you because you holding it up, blah, blah, blah. So you got to have those people who care about your brand and your legacy more than anybody else. And man, take them all the way. And I'm going to forever shout them out. You get what I'm saying? Because they always been down.
And that's so important. I hear that often, especially from people who have achieved a certain level of success. A lot of them do have people that have been down with them for decades.
That's the key.
You know?
You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with a team. And, you know, it sounds good, but until you actually live in it, you get it. But I think the thing is, too, a lot of egos have to get moved out of the way. And, you know, when you go from being hurt, like I said, that's a healing process. When you take somebody like me who came where roaches and rats and things like that in a trailer where holes in the floor to becoming a millionaire, man, and everybody's telling you that your crap don't stink, it's easy to get an ego. And you start believe because it becomes your environment, right? Your environment will change you before you can change it. And sometimes you don't even realize this is my environment. So it's easy to be like, I'm that dude. Y'all can't tell me what to do. I'm the man. I'm buying everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can't really do that. So if you can let the ego go and everybody a part of the team because they all got something going, can let the ego go, man, you can build to the end of the world. But you got to be able to take that accountability, though. Got to.
Wow, there's just really so much to take away from this episode today, and I want to keep going, but I know I don't want to, hold y'all all day because I could go on all day.
Yeah, we got to do it again. We got to do a part 2 to this.
We have to.
We didn't even tap into my whole story, the background, and these things just go so fast.
Yeah, and I really appreciate everything that you do.
Like I said, you've had an impact on thousands of people, but also on me, you know, as a young entrepreneur, and seeing you and your wife and how you all operate as a couple and building together, that's inspiring to me as having a young family. And so I just really appreciate you for being transparent and always giving value, and just, you know, keep doing what you're doing. And if you can tell everyone where they can find you on social media, just in case they're new to your platform, because we, you know, like I said, you have a ton of value to give, and I want to make sure that they can tap in with you.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's at Derrick Harper Sr., DerrickHarpersr, like senior. And Facebook, I'm Derrick A. Harper Sr. It's the one with the blue check. I got a lot of fake pages out of there. So if you ask me, is this the real me? I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna invoice you that $15 they charge me a month. So don't do that. So follow the right one. Also shoot me a text, man. I'm gonna give my number on here.
Okay.
It is 404-999-3828. And if you text me boss seat to 404-999-3828, I will personally text you back. That's my number. And I'm doing that because a lot of people watch these and they never text, or they expect something automated to come back to them, right? And what I want them to do is just say, hey, this is such and such, and so you on the boss seat. Because I love pointing to people. Anybody that sat through this much of this episode, I really want to have a conversation with.
I appreciate that. I really do. And again, I really thank you for coming in, just pouring into me. You know, this is really for me. But everyone who's watching, I hope you guys got some value out of this. Again, I am your host, Sierra Nicole. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. Stay tuned for the next one.
If you are enjoying this type of content from Beyond Her Hustle, make sure you go to beyondherhustle.com and join our growing community. There you can find additional resources, exclusive trainings, workshops, and so much more within our community. So make sure you go to beyondherhustle.com.